One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. I want to ask you about some of your routines on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that you've practiced for whether it be the past year of your professional life or the past 30 years of your professional life. I'm really curious to dig in on how you have created efficiencies in your schedule. So on a normal workday, do you dedicate a particular time when you really wall off, when you say, hey, no meetings can be scheduled during this time, and you use that to get your head around your day or respond to personal emails and calls that you know you kind of have in the queue?
I don't do enough of that, to be honest with you. And first I'll say I'm not sure there is a normal routine, period, for me on a work day, because every day is so different when you sit in this chair. But there are some things that I do in particular. Like I have regularly scheduled meetings with individuals on my staff, whether it be senior staff, whether it be my direct reports. 3 sports report directly to me, football and men's and women's basketball, and have monthly meetings with them and monthly meetings with my direct administrative reports. I, in a bad way, my husband would say, I take work home almost every night, do a lot of reading and multitasking. You know, I can act like I'm watching television with him while I'm doing something else in that regard. But, you know, emails take up a lot of time. It's interesting because you don't get nearly as many calls as we used to get because it's so easy to text or to send an email.
There's little normalcy as an AD, but if you're in town and you haven't been traveling back from a game from the night before, are you a person who's in the office at 7 a.m. or is that a bit flexible according to what you have going that day?
You know, interestingly enough, I have a hard time carving out time for me to make sure I take care of kind of health and wellness. So I started last year making sure that I am in the office at 7 a.m. and I walk for 30 minutes. And then I'm at my desk at 7:30. I like to be here before everybody else gets in. That is the normal routine thing for me. I want to be here. I want to go ahead and check as many of my emails as I can prior to somebody coming in at 8 and saying, I need to see you, I need this, I need that, or ask a question. Now, I'll sometimes change that. I average being home one night a week before 9 or 10 o'clock during the academic year. Now, that's based on ball games, whether it be soccer, whether it be volleyball, whether it be basketball. Football has changed things, and I know we'll probably talk about that a little bit, but it has definitely changed some routines. And so with that kind of schedule, getting home during the week, later at night because of functions and responsibilities and board meetings and those type things. I will sometimes come in a little later than 7, but I'm almost always here at 7 o'clock in the morning.
You mentioned football changing some of your routines. How has that played out over the last couple of years and why?
Well, the biggest change for me with not having had football was I regularly attended most all of our home sports contests. I would go to soccer games, men's and women's soccer matches, and volleyball games, and it is much more difficult to do that because now on weekends, I will say, we don't. If we're playing a home football game, we really try to have those other teams on the road just for the egress onto campus and parking and everything that goes along with tailgate in a huge function like a football game. So I don't see as many of our fall sports events from our Olympic sports, and I do miss that. But with football, this is kind of an interesting scenario or statistic. I don't have but one weekend free, and I mean totally free, nothing on Saturday, nothing on Sunday, from the start of school in August until March, other than Christmas holiday. And that's because football, you're at every home game and every away game. And you leave on Friday with the team on the plane, and you get back, if the game is an evening game on Saturday, we might not get back till 3:00 in the morning on Sunday. So you're kind of wiped out.
Yeah, you certainly are.
Our once basketball starts, football's still going on. And our conference games are starting in late December this year. But once that starts, when our men play at home, our women mirror that on the road. So when the men are at home, the women are away. And when the women are home, the men are away. So every weekend, unless they happen to have a bye weekend game, goes through March.
To start this conversation, you mentioned that you have standing meetings with individuals in and throughout your department, but also the university. Let's hone in on your senior staff, and I'm curious how those meetings are structured. I'm curious how frequent they are, who's in the room, if there's a meeting style. I know this is a multi-part question here, but I am curious to learn about from one department to the next how folks and ADs handle their, whatever you call it, executive staff and or senior staff, how frequently, and all the details around those types of conversations.
Well, I have two different types of meetings. I have a weekly meeting with larger than just the senior staff, but it includes senior staff. I include our director of marketing, our director of ticket sales and operations, our IMG representative, along with senior staff, and with media relations, and with development. And there's about 11 of us in the room for that, and we meet once a week, and we meet from 9 to 10:30. And the summer we don't meet quite as often just because of different vacation schedules, but we meet pretty frequently. And the way I run that meeting is I will have my agenda and share information that let me back up. I report directly to the chancellor, and I'm on his cabinet and his senior staff. And we meet once a week with his staff for 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's the vice chancellors and the general counsel and myself. I bring back information from that would relate to what's going on campus or directly to athletics, and I share that with the group. And then I share other things. I share my calendar, who I'm meeting with that week. If I'm having a meeting with an apparel company, if I have a meeting with a broadcast network, development, I'll let them know who I am meeting with. I always want the right hand to know what the left hand is doing, because then they may have some input into somebody I'm going to see that I didn't know something about. So then we go around the room, and I may have specific topics that I want to talk about, like what are we going to do at Basketball Madness this year? I thought it was kind of boring last year. What are we going to do? Or as we're moving forward and put plans together for that large of a group. Then we go around sort of round table, and everybody says what they've got going on and what events we have coming up. A lot of crossover in the room where everybody needs to know that information. I meet with senior staff once a month.
And how big is that group?
That group actually is twice a month. And that group is 4 people. Okay. And then I will have something called little mini retreats with that same group. And then but that usually is a 4-hour meeting where we are really delving into some issues and how we want to move forward on certain projects.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.